Hello, and welcome to Bad Witch Books. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Paco, and this is, like I said, Bad Witch Books. But today we are going to be going over my January wrap-up. January took forever. It felt like this month was 3 months long to me, specifically. Maybe because I was, so ready for January in, September. And, I love February. It's my favorite month, my birthday month. So I was waiting for January to be over. But the month is over, so we're going to be going over a reading wrap up of all the books I read. So I read a total of 7, 8 books. So I'm going to cut to Stats Paco, who will be talking about the stats in the next clip. Stats Paco coming to you with my spreadsheet in front of me. So of the books I read, 8 books I read, 3 were adult and 4 were young adult. So I read more young adults this month. Of the genres, 4 were fantasy, 1 was a historical, 1 was a horror, and 2 were romance. I read majority traditional, 7 of them were traditional, 1 was indie, and then of the types of ways I read it, 3 were audiobooks, 3 were physical books, and 2 were ebooks. I do like that. I do like it when I have them evenly kind of distributed of the types of books I read, like the format the books are in. But yeah, that is Stats Paco, back to Review Paco. Okay, so now we're going to be going over all the books I did read. The first 2 books we're going to talk about are books I do not own, so they will be put in. So the first book that I read that I don't physically own was One Piece Volume 1. I think it's romance something. It's going to be right here. This is the start of the One Piece 1,000 million pieces manga. This is a story about Luffy who wants to become a pirate, and this starts off with him as a little kid, and you see why he wants to become a pirate. He eats something called the Devil's Fruit, which give him stretchy powers, and he has a mini adventure in the beginning, and then it cuts to him I think 10 years later as a teen, new adult. I don't remember his age, as he starts to get his pirate dreams a reality. And I enjoyed it. Very normal shoujin manga. I mean, this is the blueprint, one of the main the big 3. So I am going to continue the series. When, I don't know, but I will slowly continue to try to read it. I'm supposed to be reading it with Renee, Princess, and everybody. But I'm I have to read this at my own pace. Slow behind. I think December we were supposed to read the first 3 volumes. In January we were supposed to read the next 3, and I've only read the first volume. So I'm hoping to read more in February. Next read that I do not have was The Falcon and the Foe, which is right here. I do not remember the author's name, but this was a Kindle Unlimited romance book, and it is an enemies to lovers, slob, perfectionist romance about 2 gay single dads, who, you have one who is the perfect dad who always has the snacks, always has the nutritious, perfect looking snacks, and is always on time and everything. And then you have the other single gay dad, who is late more often than not, is never fully prepared because of how life is and how his situation is. And one perfectionist is in charge of a Boy Scouts kind of situation called the Falcons, and the other dad his son wants to join the Falcons, and he's like, okay, I'll go. And then he finds out that dad is in charge of it, and he hates that dad. He hates the perfectionist dad, because the perfectionist dad kind of got him kicked out of PTA, I think it's called. I think a year before, had gotten him kicked out and kind of blackballed from school events, from helping out in school events. And so he kind of already hates them, but he's like, I don't like the way you're running it, so I'm gonna kind of co-run it with you. And so they do. There's a lot of bickering, and then romance ensues. It gets smutty, and I really enjoyed this. It was pretty fun. The banter was cute. It was just overall a really cute story. Oh, I forgot to mention, I gave One Piece 3 stars, and I gave this as well. I gave this one a 3.5. So now we're going to get on to the physical books I read this month. So my first official book I read this year was Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This story follows Mallory Greenleaf, who is a prodigy at chess, but years before the story takes place, her dad dies, and she kind of quits chess for good, until she is kind of convinced by her best friend to do this tournament for charity, where she accidentally beats the #1 world player. And, like, it takes off of storms, and then everybody's talking about her, and she's kind of coerced again into joining this chess club for money, so she could take care of her family, because she is the, like, breadwinner for her family at the time, because her mom is sick, and she has to help her sisters. And then a romance ensues between her and the chess player she beat. It was cute. This was my first Ali Hazelwood book, and I enjoyed it. I did not hate it. Will I read her rest? I don't know. I am going to try out her next book, which is a paranormal romance, to see how she works in that world. And if I like that, I might go back and try to read her Love Theoretically series. So, I enjoyed this. 3 stars. Next book I read was Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. This book follows multiple characters. So this book follows a vampire real estate agent. My mind blinked on what she was. She is trying to sell this house that is haunted, and so she's like, well, I need to sell this house, and this ghost is not helping at all, so she decides to go to the Godson of Death to help. And the Godson of Death is like, I guess I'll help, but then they find out that Death is missing, and they have to find out what happened to him. And I think Helen sent me this post. I think it was a post that Book Roast had posted on Instagram, I believe, where it said that reading this book felt like walking into a multi-sessioned D&D campaign, walking in the middle as all the relationship drama was happening and not knowing what was going on. But I agree. I completely agree, but I completely enjoyed the vibe. Like, first we talk about this cover. I really enjoyed it. This book is vibes only, characters only, no plot, and I really enjoyed it. I liked the main characters, like Viola, our vampire, and Fox Demora, the Godson of Death. Great characters. I love it was very much a character-focused story, and I like the way the game is played. And I just really enjoyed it. It's very queer as well, and I'm finding out I like that Olivia Blake's books. I am very excited to continue my Olivia Blake journey. Next book I finished was Foul Heart Huntsman by Chloe Gong. This is the end of the Foul Lady Fortune duology, and the last book, I believe, in the Shanghai Secrets, which is, like, this duology and the, These Violent Delights duology. So this book follows Fortune, who is a assassin for the Nationalist Party, and she is forced to kind of fake marry Orion, who is a spy for the Nationalist Party, and shit happens in the first book, and this is the sequel. I enjoyed how this wrapped up. I really enjoy our main character, Fortune. I don't want to say it because the main character in this kind of spoils what happens in the first duology, but we'll just go by her code name. I really enjoyed Fortune. I liked her and Orion a lot. I enjoyed the second half of this book a lot more, because what I loved about the first half was our love dynamic, our main character love dynamic, and something happened at the end of this book which made this book affected like half of this book. And so it wasn't until like halfway where I love these characters. I liked seeing the characters that we saw in this one that were from the previous series. And I like this. Chloe Gong, you have a fan of me. I'm excited to get into Immortal Longings and see how she handles the adult sphere. Okay, so the next book I finished was Night of the Witch, which, if you have not, you can watch my spoilery fueled vlog, which I will link down below. And this was for my 12 witchy picks. I gave this book 3 stars. Very middle of the road, but I do talk about this in full in that vlog, so that will be linked down below so you can watch for part 1 of that series, of the 12 witchy book series. So the next book I finished was Bone Shard Daughter by Andra Stewart. This is the start of a epic trilogy that takes place on these islands that are moving constantly, and they follow multiple characters in this empire. Specifically, the main two are Lynn, who is the daughter of the emperor, who has lost her memory and is trying to gain it back so that her father will teach her the magic, the Bone Shard magic, so that she can become the next ruler. And it also follows a smuggler, who things happen with him that he's like my favorite character. I did not enjoy this book as much as I was hoping to. This book felt like this book was a 3 stars, 3.5 because of the ending. I really liked the last chunk of this book a lot, but I felt like this book was building up to something until the ending, and it felt like the beginning of a book for a lot of the portion of it. It didn't feel like the story fit for me. I mean, it was still a good book, but just I personally didn't feel like a majority of it it just felt like we were waiting for something to happen to get the story really going for more than half of the book. And it wasn't legit until the last third that I felt like we got to our kind of climactic scene, and then a lot of shit just happened. So I think maybe pacing was a problem for me in this book. But I might most likely continue the trilogy to see where things go. We will see if I like the sequel, then of course I'll continue it. But this book the series is kind of on the ice for me. But it was cute. And now for my least favorite book of the year. Not yet, but of the month. And that was A Breakup from Hell by Annie Davila Cardinal. So one challenge that I saw that I want to do this year is to make sure I'm reading at least, I will be reading more than that, but at least one Latinx book per month. I love Latinx books, one of my favorite types because it's just I like trying to read that representation. And I know last year it was kind of lacking for me and myself, just I wasn't reading a lot as much as I wanted to. And so I saw this challenge going on Instagram, so I'm going to do this. So this fit for the January challenge. And this book follows Miguela as a new boy has come into her world, and she starts to catch feelings for him, and then she finds out that he is not as he seems, and that it might be leading to the end of the world. This book's pacing was all over the place. This book is only 300 pages, and 100 pages in, and you're still waiting for something to happen, and then the last the last chunk failed. It was what the fuck is happening? A lot of shit was happening. At one point, a dragon showed up that went nowhere. At one point, I'm reading the page, and I'm when did this character grow wings? It was just fucking crazy. Such cool concept, but just to me completely failed in the regard. So this got a 3 stars. It's a 2.5 honestly though. But yeah. That's all I can really say about it. The characters were cool. And like I said, it had a cool concept, and I would love to see this just kind of be redone. Because it was cool. The cool stuff was there. But it's just it didn't feel like there was any lead up to it. Yeah. But that is what I read this month. What did you guys read? I think my favorite read, I didn't have anything that was a 4 star. Maybe Masters of Death was 4 star, but honestly it was a 3.75 rounded up to a 4. So I didn't have any really big 4 or 5 star reads this month, and that's kind of disappointing, and we are hoping to not continue that into February. I know it's not, because I'm already really reading a book that's probably gonna be a 4 star, but that's what I read. Let me know what you guys read, and I will see you later. Bye.